Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Precious Molepo. And today I have a lovely, lovely guest that I'll be interviewing with regards to financial accounting. Her name is Nothando Khoza.
Guys, how are you doing? Hope you're all keeping well and keeping safe and enjoying the CTA journey.
A lot of you guys have been asking me to find somebody or to personally speak on financial accounting. Unfortunately, it was a battle throughout the years, so I had to reach out and find someone who I felt did a wonderful job. Notando, you were the backbone to my first attempt of CTA. I remember asking you so many questions, and there wasn't even one time where you were like, "Yo, I don't know. Like, I don't have the answer to this." Every single question I asked, you had an answer. But anyway, introduce yourself. Tell us about your CTA journey.
All right, so I am Natando, like she mentioned. I did Become Accounting, BCTA, and CTA at UJ. During my CTA, I'm not gonna say it was the easiest. No, I didn't have it easy. Yeah, it was hard. I mean, I think it is important for us to highlight the fact that CTA is not like a smooth sailing journey that one does, well, unless you're super smart. But it was really hard. So I had to stay grounded, focus, because at the end of the day, I know the goal, and the goal was to pass CTA and get it over and done with. Like, you want to just do it once, because the second time, I mean, it takes so much courage to come back. Yeah.
And how was your undergrad journey?
I think it wasn't bad. It was okay. I feel like I started feeling that things are difficult when I got into into BCTA. Become accounting wasn't that bad for me. I mean, I could study and take a break here and there, but BCTA and CTA, there had to be like stepped up sacrifices that I had to make from what I had done before. So undergrad was okay, I guess.
So I remember being in one of the BCTA lectures with you, and you were taking notes. You were so focused. Was that the same in your undergrad, or did you have to like now step up and be more focused in lectures in BCTA?
It was the same. So I had the same process from my undergrad. So I would have like books for each module to help myself like get notes on whatever the lecturer is saying in class, or if ever we're doing examples, because sometimes they wouldn't give us the answers to the examples. So you'd have to write it down yourself. Or whenever there's answers in the example, I would also prefer to do that myself first, or in class with the lecture first, before I go to the answers that they've given us. So it was always like a strategy for me to write down notes in class. And then the thing that changed when I got to BCTA is now summaries. I never knew that you could make your life easier by just summarizing on a one pager. I never knew that. So there was that change for me, that I had to go back, do the summaries for each module. First of all, there's a lot of topics that you want covered accounting alone. So I had to start that early, because remember, we were told that to make it easier for yourself in CTA, just start doing the summaries now, right? So I think that's one of the changes that I'd made from Become Accounting to BCTA. And the other thing I felt like was different was the way they were testing. So that meant more time to study and actually understand what is being asked. So yeah, I think that was the only things that I changed from my Become Accounting to BCTA and subsequently CTA.
How did you manage to stay so focused throughout university?
I think for me it was like coming from where I come from. I knew my goal, what I needed to, like, first of all, I knew why I came to Joburg, and that was to get this degree, get a job, and take care of my family back home. But the other thing that I feel like helped me stay more focused was the fact that, with accounting courses and PCTA, especially in CTA, it's very hard to find funding. So when you
Mm-hmm.
finally find funding, and one of the requirement is for you to keep on passing, or to do well in your studies, you wanna stay focused to retain that, because it is very difficult for one to find funding, especially if you don't have any means again to pay for university, because once you fail, it's over.
It's really not easy. I mean, if you fail the second
Yeah,
time, you're just like, damn, I've been through this. But like the
exactly.
first
So,
failure in life, it's not nice. So I completely understand where you're coming from. And then you mentioned
yeah.
because of where you come from, like where did you grow up? Where's home?
So home is Pumalanga, Nelspruit. I grew up with my grand, so we stayed like a big family. My grandmother, my mother, and my siblings as well. So I'm the first one to go to university from home.
That's
So they're proud of
amazing.
me.
And
So that's
you
one of the
did
reasons
so
why
well. Can you just, on that
I
note, can
did.
you tell everybody what you ranked in CTA, please? If you
During,
remember.
do you mean those rankings that they did in June?
Yes.
I think I was around the 30s, if I'm not, I can't
That's
remember. I can't
amazing.
recall
Out
because
of
of
like
busy life.
500 students, you ranked 30 in your first attempt of CTA. That is amazing. And you're the first one in your family to go to university. I am so
Yes,
inspired.
yeah.
Wow. Anyway, sorry.
Because of that, and I knew the fact that I don't want to disappoint my family, being the first one in the family to be a graduate, I just want it to, like, to say the least, perfect, to go perfectly. So yeah, I think that was that.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Very inspiring as well, I must say. So, what was your detailed approach? Let's get into the crux of it, right? Just before we get into
Mm-hmm.
it, though, I just want to give some context. When I say that Nothando was very focused in BCTA, I think I remember sitting next to you in one of the lectures, and you had like a notebook, and you had written notes of the lecture before we had the lecture. So you went into like detailed pre-reading. Can you please elaborate on that technique in case it might work for somebody?
I think for me, I don't want to get I don't like to be confused. First of all, so if I get an opportunity, like maybe sometimes they would release. Remember, they would release the during COVID for CTA, they would release the videos, slides, and examples. So I would do those before the video lecture, so that whenever whatever that they say, I add on to the notes that I got when I was doing the stuff myself. So it's easier for me to understand. It's like also when there's a lot of information, like um, there's a lot that you can miss. And also I wanted to avoid the fact that after this lecture I would have to go back again to understand what they were saying. So it was an easy approach for me to do the things before class, um, to maybe get like a little bit of understanding of what we're trying to do. Basically, I set the scene type of vibe, I
Makes
think.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's
And
pre-reading, but much more detail.
so I would do the pre-reading, like remember they would just give us pre-reading, and we'd also have to do quizzes as well, and answer, like maybe do some research, especially for that first two that they gave us. We needed to do research, remember. But yeah, it was like pre-reading, but not in much detail because obviously I'm still gonna go to the class and they're still gonna explain stuff. But it is nice to sit there and understand the context because you've done your pre-reading.
I was so shocked when I saw your notebook with all, but it's a beautiful approach. Yeah. I feel like if anybody is struggling when it comes to that, they should definitely give that a try.
Yeah.
Get into the crux of the CTA accounting or financial accounting. Accounting was, I think, in the first and second attempt of my CTA, that was like one of the modules that had one of the lowest class averages. So I'm pretty sure I can speak for everybody and say that it's pretty difficult. So what was your detailed approach when it came to studying it? Because if I remember correctly, I think like from the beginning, you kind of got a hold on to it.
Not a tight hold on, but it was not bad. So out of because we wrote April, June, September, and then the final exam. Out of the four, I passed three. So
That's amazing.
the first one wasn't successful. So I think that is also like if anybody does CTA and passes their first accounting test, I mean, come on, you're killing it. I mean, like you said, it's difficult, and it takes a lot to go back and restudy it because first of all, it's a lot. You have to go through a process of your standards, your lecture notes, your if you want, if you supplement with YouTube videos as well, you have to go through that, and you can still do that and fail.
That's so true.
So yeah, so if you pass the first test, yeah, I mean,
So can
kudos, you're
can you
doing really great.
can you speak us through what you did, let's say from test 2, 3, and 4?
Okay, so my approach was always lectures. Like, they would give us videos, go through the lecture videos alongside with the slides and the examples that they would give out. So I work best when I have things on paper. So I would print out my examples. Like, I don't mind having um your notes, the notes that they would give us as well as like a supplement of what they're giving us. I don't mind having that on PDF, but my examples, I need to have them printed out so that I can write it down. I don't know, maybe it's a psychological thing. When you write things down, all of a sudden they're in your brain. So I would go through my lecture notes, my videos, add on that, and then if I don't get a topic, I don't see the need to go back and rewatch that video. I would go maybe try somebody else. There's a lot of um, videos on YouTube. There's a lot of people explaining the same concept, the same standard. So you just need to find one that you can understand and um, go through it. So if maybe there's a topic that I don't understand, then I'll go and supplement that with maybe a UNISA YouTube video for accounting or typology YouTube video for accounting, right? So after that, after I've understood what I'm doing, if there's anything that I don't understand still from all the processes that I've done, I'll go consult. So usually I like consulted with my friends first, just to get, like, it's easier if you're consulting with your peers because maybe one, they're having the same problem as you, or two, they figured out the solution, right?
Mm.
So it's easier for me to start from the people around me before I go to the lectures or to the academic trainees. So that's on consulting. And my last step would be summaries. So, like I mentioned earlier, I started doing my summaries in BCTA so that when I get to CTA, I don't have to redo them all over again. Because, first of all, CTA takes up a lot of your time, a lot of your studying time. So, you don't want to be studying and redoing summaries all over again. So, what I would do is from what I have done from PCTA, what has changed? What do I need to add on? Right. So I
Mm-hmm.
I never had. Remember they told us that there's one pager summaries. I never had that. I mean,
Is
you
it?
can't, like, no. I summarize my stuff in like 2 to 3 pages if it allows, right? As long as it's a shorter version of it's not like a dump of what's in the standard, right? So that was the process that I went through, and then from test 2, 3, and 4, what I would do is that I would go back to, like I said, my first test wasn't successful for accounting. I think I got like a 47%. And then I would just go back to that test. Because remember, after the test they would give us videos. They would give us videos explaining of what went wrong, how we should have answered the question, and we had the memo at our disposal as well. So what I would do is just to go back to that previous test and just check what I got right, get comfortable with that, what I got wrong as well, so that I don't go to the second test and make the same mistake again. So
That
that, I think
makes
that,
that
yeah,
makes
that
so
was the
much
change that I made.
sense. Um, just I have a question on that. So there's this mentality that they going back to your previous assessments or your exams is a waste of time, because especially for financial accounting, because they won't ask the same question or topic, or there's a slim chance that they'll ask the same topic again. Do you have anything to say to that, especially you saying that you go back to your previous papers, or you went back to your previous papers?
I think it's very dangerous to make predictions, eh? You never know. Like, that's the thing. What if they want to test that same topic so that you guys keep on improving on it? So it's not a waste of time. So, because it minimizes the time for your maybe your test 3 and 4 of that same topic, because already you've went through it from your first test to your second test. And if they test the same topic again on your second test, one, you're not making the same mistakes that you did on your first test, which means now you know it, right? Minimizing the time for your third and fourth test of studying that topic. Because remember, you don't want to be sitting around and doing a topic that you're comfortable in for like 3 hours.
That's true. And
Yeah.
let's make this a bit more practical. Let's say, for example, impairments was one of the topics that were in your first paper that you didn't pass.
Mm-hmm.
How in depth would you go into restudying it? On top of obviously going through that exam paper, seeing what you did wrong, learning from your mistakes, seeing what you did right. But then would you also go to impairments again and re-study it from scratch, like from the lecture videos to practice questions, etc.?
I think the whole exercise of going back to your previous paper is to identify the gaps. Because obviously, um, maybe let's say you didn't get, like in an impairment question, you didn't get all of it wrong. You got some of it wrong, right? So
Okay.
you wanna identify the gaps. Maybe let's say there was like, hypothetically, there was a definition of impairment. You got the first part right, but the second part was wrong. So what you need to go and do is go back and highlight or study that second part, because already you know in your mind, you know that there's a first part and the second part. And when you go to your next test, when they ask that same question again, you're like, oh, there's a first part that I got right in my first test, but there's a second part that I didn't quite grab. But at least now I realized that, and I've went back to my standard and I've highlighted it. Because there's a quite a lot, number of time where I realized during the test that there's some sections that I haven't even seen on my references. And I realized that after I've written the test, right? So the going back part helps in identifying the gaps. You don't necessarily need to go back and rewatch the full video unless you want to, right? But I think the identifying the gaps, go back to your standard, highlight or flag whatever now is new because you didn't get it the first time, right? Or either if it's not new, you didn't understand it. If you didn't understand it, try a different approach. Maybe there's somebody else that can explain it better than you understand it currently, right? That I think, yeah, that's what I did. I
Okay.
didn't go back and redo the same videos. No.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, using your exam as feedback to see, okay, this and this and this is what you're not on par with, and then fixing that. And then obviously, as you come across more past papers, you'll add more to the knowledge.
Yeah, and what is also important is that as you're adding the highlights on whatever you've missed on your standards, remember I spoke about 1 page or 2 pages summaries, because that helps when like there's time constraint for studying. I would use that to revise. So whatever that you've missed in your test or an exam, you go back and edit on your summaries as well, so that whenever there's now like a 1 week study deadline, you take your summaries and you revise and you go straight to doing maybe past papers if you're that comfortable with the topic. But I think in that process, you don't forget to go back and update your summaries, or if ever there was something that you put in your summaries that was incorrect, but by now going back to your tests or going back to your lecture examples, you've realized that, oh no, I've made a mistake. You still want to go back to your summaries, because at the end of the day, you're still going to use them, and you don't want to use them with incorrect information, or you don't want to use them with incomplete information.
Yes, that makes so much
Yeah.
sense. And then how many hours? I know you shouldn't look at the quantity and it should be about the quality, but just so that people can know whether they're on the right track or not, around how many hours would you spend studying accounting?
Um, I never really counted. Hey, like I said, I was a really boring person. I didn't have anywhere to go, so
Okay.
I would just stick around and study. But my approach was 2 modules a day, and you rest half day on maybe a Saturday, depending on how comfortable people are. Like some people would take their half days on a Friday and take like a full day on either a Saturday or Sunday. So I would do 2 modules per day. So how you'd want to structure this is you want to do a module that you're comfortable with and a module that you're not comfortable with. So like for an example, in my case, sometimes I would merge accounting and tax. So I would know that accounting, like I need my brain to work. So I do it in the morning,
Mm,
right? And then um And the other thing that you need to remember is that you don't want to do it the whole day. I mean, then what's the purpose of doing two modules a day if you're going to do one module the whole day? So it's not about putting hours per se, just maybe cut off time. For me, it was like I couldn't put hours because there's different topics that maybe you take longer to understand than others. So that's why I had two modules a day, a bit easier one and a hard one, to balance it out, to make sure that when I do the easier one, at least I take less time, and then I go and focus on maybe in accounting.
Yes, that makes sense. And you
Yeah.
need that
So I
confidence boost.
exactly, and like I said, I wouldn't put hours because I didn't know how to, first of all. So I would put cutoff time, basically, maybe let me say by 1:30 latest, I must be done with accounting. And if I'm not
Okay.
done, that's also fine. And which means that if I'm not done, I'll have to sacrifice and wake up early and finish it up, because at the end of the day, I need to do that topic.